constant in my life. Always in their chairs and always ready to listen and always ready to make you feel loved. Always ready to make you feel loved unconditionally no matter what choices that you made. Even when I wasn't little anymore, Grammy used to rock me in the chair and always knew the right things to say when I was blue. She kept me company on the phone when I was sick, and one time when I was doing house chores when the girls were little, I remember her asking, "What are you doing now?" I said, "I'm sweeping. You wouldn't believe what I'm finding in my dustpan." And she, of course, wanted to know. I rattled off a Lego, a Cheez-It, a bottle cap, a Q-tip, etc., etc., and she just laughed and laughed, saying how that just couldn't be possible that I found all of that in my kitchen. Grams did have a super feisty side which came out here and there, mostly when you tried to move her stuff. She might have had 6 Tupperware pitchers, but God forbid we toss one out. Or another thing that was sure to get her riled up was Grampy pruning her ivy, that she had hand woven through the fence weeks upon weeks to hide the view of the trash cans from the street. I think he did that probably 3 different times, all producing the same response. When I asked Grampy one time what the secret was to a long-lasting marriage, he pondered for a moment and he said, "Widen your comfort zone." Smart man. Grampy loved gardening. He planted fruit trees, vegetables, and his specialty, tomatoes, which he shared with Cheyenne. She lovingly replanted them for him in the spring. After he passed, I found books on horticulture and pruning. Gram always thought that he went crazy on the trees, but it turns out he really did know what he was doing. We actually finally had to forbid him from climbing up the trees to prune them or blowing leaves off the roof. Until the grandsons were big enough, or when Uncle B came home, I would go over and blow them off and enjoy a cold beer with Gramps on the front patio. When we were done, he sure loved his leaf blower and a nice cold beer, and he would smack his lips, say, "That's good." Grampy actually gave me my first sip of alcohol, which I'm pretty sure Mom did not know about. And we both felt like we were getting away with something. It was at the cabin in Wisconsin, and I was 12, and it was Bailey's and Irish cream on ice. I remember it vividly, cool and sweet, and he said, "Everything in moderation." He would say this frequently when he poured his nightly little 4-ounce glass of red wine or had a treat of some sort. He stopped smoking his pipe in my teen years, but the smell of Prince Albert still reminds me of him, that and the shop. He was always thinking, inventing, writing poems, or doing Sudoku, and when I would visit, I would ask what his latest invention was. And he most always had one, and it was sure to be the next big thing. Grammy and Grampy were involved in our lives and the foundation of our family, our rocks. Grampy was there to make sure we learned how to change a tire, teach us how to camp, fish, shoot a shotgun, and enjoy the beauty of nature. We camped and traveled with them and Mom all throughout my childhood. Once Grampy found a yellow rock in Yellowstone and gave it to me, which I still have. I never realized how sentimental he was until after he passed. We found newspaper clippings of grandchildren that had made the paper, a little plastic crown party favor from Cheyenne's 18th birthday, a cap gun by his chair given to him by Cheyenne, Uncle Bob's elementary school graduation certificate, and all of Mom and Uncle Bob's report cards. My favorite was how he cut Grammy's old driver's license and put it in a tiny heart-shaped frame, and it was in his jewelry box. He had everything within arm's reach of that chair. From his dental floss to his can of snacks and a whole set of tools. I can't even imagine a world without them. I had always somehow thought they found the secret to everlasting life. But in the last few months, they talked to me a lot about heaven and asked a lot of questions. Grammy mostly about my wrist tattoo because she was forgetting things, so pretty much every time I saw her, she wanted to know what it said and what it meant. And it usually ended up in a conversation about faith. One time, Grampy was in the hospital and I went to bring him his glasses, and he said that he had been thinking a lot. And I said, well, what are you thinking about, Grampy? And he says, I've been thinking about big things, really small things, and like quantum physics. And he said, I've been thinking about God. And I said, do you want me to bring my pastor here, Grampy? He says, no, I'm good. He says, me and God, we're like this. I said, okay. But he carried on. He went home. He healed. And Grammy talked about her faith with me. She went on prayer walks with her friends, and she missed that the most when she became bedridden. I know probably Myrna had a lot of talks with her too. One day when, I'm almost done, Grammy wasn't a fan of the nurses that came, but she was polite to everyone that came in the room, even though she might make faces after they left. But one of them had talked about after Grampy passed and said that she would see Grampy in heaven. And Grammy looked at me and she says, do you think that's true, Amy? And I said, yeah. And she says, what do you think heaven is like? And I said, well, my understanding is that heaven is perfect, and that when we get there, there's no pain, and there's no sadness, and that we're perfect in heaven, and Grampy's gonna be perfect in heaven. And she says, like she couldn't understand what that meant. And I said, you know, like when he's up there, he's not gonna prune your flowers anymore. So she really liked that, and I said, and he won't be putting his walker in front of your TV anymore. So, anyway, so one of my lunchtime visits, Grammy woke up and I said, what are you thinking about? She says, I'm thinking about Grampy. And I said, well, what are you thinking about him? And she says, well, about how he left me here. And she was really upset that he went first. And so she said, do you think he can see us down here? And I said, yes, I believe he can. And I played for her a song, which I was going to play, but I'm not sure how that's possible. But it's called The Floors of Heaven, that there's holes in the floor of heaven. And I played it for her, and she liked it a lot. And when she also talked about her pops a lot in the last couple of days and wanting to see her pops. And so I got the honor of being there when she passed away. And it was hard. We didn't know what to say. And she just was such a fighter. And she just kept taking breath after breath, like she just was fighting to hold on. And I told her that Grampy was waiting for her. And so was her pops, and we all loved her, and we're safe and happy. And she took a final couple breaths, and she was gone. Very sad that they're gone. I can't imagine not driving up East Avenue and having them still be in their chairs, but I'm comforted knowing that they're in heaven and that we'll see them again. Thank you.